Okay, so in this video, let's look to actually really detail this thing, and we'll start by, well, actually, first we'll start by getting rid of the unfinished shapes that, since we're not going to work on them right now, might as well just make them invisible. That way we get kind of a cleaner view of what we're working on. And alright, so I'm going to begin with everything that we've already got on this layer right here. It's called finished, and I'll probably just end up working above it for right now. And I'm going to zoom in. For some reason I feel like, oops, that needs to be black, but I'll change that in a moment. I feel like what would be kind of interesting would be a rail coming up this way. So I'll make that black, and let me just dip it down just a tad. And I'll actually connect it. Some poles in the middle here. Each one of these is kind of going inward, like so. And let's do one here. And then one right there. Let's pull back a little bit. If you can, just try to select them all. Actually, just select everything on the layer. Hit F8. Let's call it rails. And check this out. We can go over here to drop shadow, and that immediately looks pretty nice, doesn't it? Let's go to let's adjust the distance just a little bit. Take it down just a tad, and then I'll take the strength down just a little bit as well. And let's zoom in. In fact, now that we got those done, let's just go ahead and put them on our finished layer. Zoom in, and I'm just going to grab a white swatch. Doesn't need a stroke around it. And this will add a lot to some of these corners that are a little bit almost too perfect. Let me view this as a wireframe for right now. Oops, need another point here and another one right about there. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this same shape and just make it smaller so I can fit it in on each one of these corners. Probably have to change it subtly like I am. Alright, once you get them in there, go ahead and select them all. Hit F8. Just kind of call it corner, maybe corner bevel. It's a little questionable what the name of that is. But I do need to arrange it behind the ramp, don't I? There we go. And let's play around with the blending on this. Overlay looks good. That also looks good at doing the opposite effect, subtracting it. Let's go with, what do we have there? Overlay. And if you wanted, you could even play around with blurring it just a little bit. In which case, they get a little lost down here at in these parts if you blur it. So you might want to go back and just thicken it up a little bit. Yeah, just something like that. Might make it a little bit thicker right here. Yeah, that looks nice. And let's go add quite a bit more color to this. I'm going to work on this layer right here. I'm just going to make it a wireframe layer so I can see right through it. And I'm going to make a little pinstriping, I guess. Let's start right over there in that corner. Then I'm going to copy this shape, put it right here so it actually climbs up a bit. So it goes over top that the ramp. This is quite a paint job. Then it will descend down as well. Come all the way over here. And then I'll bring it right down to there. And I'll just kind of have to work around this existing shape as best as I can. I think it's okay if I just kind of cover up that part. I'm not going to cry over that. Alright, then I'm going to slice it down the middle so I get 2 tones of color for this. So go right here. I have to zoom in. That's about down the middle. The makers of this robot can make a pretty intense advanced robot, but they can't paint too well in straight lines. Alright, I think I've got it. I need to just make sure that these parts connect. And while I'm zoomed in this close, I guess I could correct that. Okay. Alright, zoom out. So we should have white and red. Alright, that's good. And now we just need to kind of work on the arrangements and the color over here. In fact, let's do this first. That would be easier if that was a hairline, wouldn't it be? Okay, so we'll make this gray. This one be I had some red tones, didn't I? There we go, dark red. And let's make it all into one symbol. Stripes. And we'll take our little pole, put it over top of that. And then let's take the alpha down just a bit on this. Oh, and you know, we gotta just change the color right there as well, don't we? Take the alpha down to just about 75%. I don't want to lose too much of the color, but I do want to be able to see some of the detail underneath. And here we go again. Let's snap these so we get it right from point to point. Oops. Okay, now let's see how that looks. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, let's put in some just holes, just kind of random. I don't know. It could be bolt parts, or bolt detailing, or I don't know. Just something like that. I'm gonna squeeze this circle just up a little bit, like so. I think that looks a little bit better in perspective. And if you wanted, you could also take the that circle stroke, which I added, move it down a little bit, and then take the alpha down. So then it just kind of looks like it's showing through if you're really if you were able to see that detail. It looks like it's showing through a little bit of the steel underneath. So we'll just call this hole. Oh, name's already taken. And I'll just copy this same guy around a bunch of different places. Let's not do too many though. Put one or two up here. These ones, I believe, need to squash down a little bit. Scale this one back some. Here we go. Here's a kind of easy effect you can do. Go ahead and grab a line and set it to being stippled, or stippled. And I'll just make this a black color. Set it up to about 1.5 maybe. There we go. I'm going to convert lines to fills on that. So of course you just go over to shape, convert lines to fills. It's now fill data, and I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit. Maybe copy and paste it right on top of itself so you get a little bit more of this almost kind of like sloppy cursive writing. And now I will select it. Let's just call it stippled line, stippled, and just take the alpha down. And then this just kind of becomes some sort of random scratch mark there. And also looks good if you just copy it, make it a little bit smaller too, so you can put some of it right next to each other. You could skew it out, so maybe it looks like something got dragged along there. And these could go a lot of different places. Oh, there's a little reveal. I was working ahead, already had it in there. Let's go maybe over here as well. Gonna scale it off in the background. Yeah, I mean you can kind of go a little nuts with stuff like this, and it sort of looks a bit like that texture that we had in our mask as well. So maybe it would make sense, and maybe it would make sense if we put it in places where we showed a little bit of damage, like over here. Probably not varying the size of this enough. So I'll let you guys kind of perfect that. By the way, between videos I did make the smoke a little bit smaller. And let's see what else we can do here. Well, we can let's go over here and make something kind of jutting out from well, kind of following along with that line that we originally put into the very first model of this. So let's get off of the stippling. Let's go over here to solid, and we'll set this up to something like 2. Let's make it a kind of bright color, at least bright for us. And so I'll just pull the line out here. I'll create another point. Let's go out this way actually. Okay, just I'm going to convert lines to fills on it. Hit F8. Probably duplicate it and then tint it to being something a bit darker. Maybe even a full black, so we know people can see it. And what is that? Oh, you know, it's who knows? Depending on how big our robot is, I mean, the scale of humans next to it could be like this size. They could be that big. So maybe this is their little walkway to go into the repair room or something like that. Which it would be funny to put like little tiny doors in here to give people an idea of just how massive this guy is. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things we could do here, a lot more even, but maybe to the point of kind of putting too much in to too small of an area. We maybe want to leave ourselves a bit of room to do some new things in other places. So let's move on from the shoulder. Of course, something to consider too would be to just kind of take everything that you've done that you like, that you know is good, make it into one big symbol. So let's call it shoulder, I don't know, finished, or most of the way there, something like that. And then, of course, when you do have a symbol like that you've finished, it's always fun to go around and play with the adjusting of the color, so you can see what the entire thing would look like with a different hue. Blue's kind of cool. Take the saturation down or up, depending on what you like there. So now he's a totally black and white robot. Play with the contrast, do things like that, and I'll just undo all of it. Another thing you can do too is just take the entire thing and kind of play around with the scale, and then just see if you can kind of fill in some stuff in the background with art that you've already made. So do something like that. If you did do that, you could even take the adjust color off, put a drop shadow on the entire thing, do an inner drop shadow, and let's adjust there we go. So you can kind of cover up a lot of it with a shadow there, and people might not realize, hey, wait a minute, I've seen that before. It's just flipped upside down. I'm being cheated when I look at this illustration. Alright, so there's one part done.